Sometimes I feel invalidated with my experience of having cancer because I ask and people go, "Oh, you didn't have chemo?" No, I didn't have chemo. Not every cancer patient has to have chemo. And I want to really make that loud and clear that every person who has cancer is a cancer patient. And just because someone's treatment looks different than another person's treatment does not invalidate just how hard some of that treatment can be for different individuals. Today, we're going to talk about guilt. Hi, if you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name's Corey and I am a bone cancer survivor, and it is a beautiful, beautiful fall morning, and I thought I'd just talk to you guys about the guilt of having cancer-only surgery treatment. Now, I get this question, one of the first questions I get asked by people when I talk to them about having had cancer is, did you have chemotherapy? And as of today, the answer is no. Now, if my cancer ever came back, I was told no matter what, no matter how it came back, I would have to have chemotherapy. But as of right now, my only treatment was a surgery that I had back in, I've had 3 technically, but the one to resect the cancer from my body was back in January of 2019. If you have not seen that video and want to know more about it, I will leave that video up in the iCard up above. Hopefully the lighting's not getting weird, the sun's coming up. You might have to switch to inside. I switched to a different location outside. Hopefully you can hear me a little bit better here. When people ask me that question, well, did you have chemo? And I have to say no, it feels like it invalidates my cancer experience. At the end of the day, just because I had chemotherapy, that doesn't make me any less of a cancer patient. Regardless of what happened and what my treatment was, I was a cancer patient. I technically still am a cancer patient. I have to be cancer free for 10 years to say I'm actually totally cancer free and not just in remission. The hard part is I had a life-altering, disability-causing surgery that has significantly impacted my well-being and my ability to live my life. And so I get a little nervous when people ask that question because I feel like I'm going to be judged for not having had chemotherapy. It makes me feel like I don't belong sometimes in the cancer community or having conversations and being an advocate for cancer survivors because my experience is only having had surgery. Now, I think it doesn't matter what your treatment is. If you had cancer, you're a cancer patient. That's the end of it all. And for me, my cancer surgery resulted in a lifelong disability. I should not have to feel guilt or shame that I did not have to have chemo. I know I have a friend who she had the similar surgery that I did, and the dog has muddy paws. Oh my god. Yes, I would assume, I haven't had it so I don't know, but I assume people who deal with chemotherapy and radiation, it's a lot to handle and experience. But I also want to say I don't want to compare suffering, right? When you suffer, you suffer. And I tell people this all the time when they say, well, I had this little thing, but it's nothing like you having your femur sawed in half. The thing is, I want to say that it doesn't matter that I had my femur sawed in half and you had this experience. You had this suffering, and I had this suffering. There's no reason for us to compare. Both of us had experiences that deeply hurt us in some kind of way or changed us for certain reasons. And there's no reason to invalidate those experiences. And so I want to say that, when people respond to me like, oh, you didn't have chemotherapy, it makes me feel guilty. I feel guilty that I was very fortunate that my cancer was found at stage 1, hadn't spread to other portions of my body, and I didn't have to endure the suffering of chemotherapy. Now, I still had to endure the suffering of the surgery no matter what had happened in this case, but I didn't have to endure the suffering of chemotherapy. And it kind of bothers me that people will say, oh, no chemo? Like, did you want me to suffer through chemotherapy? I would not wish that on anybody. That sounds miserable. But it creates this level of guilt. You're making me think, like, what's wrong with me that I didn't have to have chemo? I had a tendency, because of my experiences as a child, to be very hard on myself. And I have always thought, like, why was I lucky enough to have one of the least aggressive bone cancers that exist, when bone cancer tends to be an extremely aggressive cancer that requires a lot of chemotherapy? What did I deserve to have this, like, awful surgery at the same time, though? And I don't even know, I don't think I've even fully processed my thoughts on this yet, because I'm still technically not cancer free. I'm in remission. And I'm so nervous that my cancer is still going to spread to other parts of my body, or it's going to come back in my leg, and I'm going to have to have surgery, or not surgery, excuse me. I might have to have surgery, but I would have to have chemotherapy. I would have to try chemotherapy to get rid of it. I don't want to have to feel guilty that I didn't have to go through chemo. I haven't had to go through chemotherapy. And that I don't want to feel guilty of being a voice in the cancer community as a cancer patient. I think sometimes when people are searching for stuff, they're looking for people who've had similar experiences, and sometimes it's hard to find those folks whose lives may have been drastically altered by their cancer diagnosis, but they're afraid to really reach out to the community because they didn't have to go through chemotherapy or radiation. Maybe they had a life-altering surgery like I did. Or maybe they had to drastically change their lifestyle in order to prevent their cancer, have the least chance of their cancer spreading to other parts of their body or growing. I still don't know how I feel about all of it. I'm half making this video because I think I have some people who subscribe and they think that, oh, I'm gonna watch someone go through, like, chemotherapy and be on this, like, huge cancer journey. And the thing is, it's still a huge cancer journey. That is 100% accurate. Even though the cancer has been removed from my body, that doesn't mean that I don't have lifelong consequences of that. And I see it as honestly part of my cancer journey, part of my journey to, like, try to live my life again with a completely different body that I had no choice or control over. But I completely understand if you were here to watch somebody go through, like, active treatment, for example, chemotherapy or radiation. I understand if that's not something that, if that's not part of my channel, which right now it's not, and I really hope it's not, because I would never wish myself to have my cancer spread to any other part of my body. I understand if you don't want to be subscribed, but I feel like this was the almost this cloud hanging in the back of my head that people would subscribe, because most of my subscribers come from, like, my huge cancer videos, that they're gonna sit and watch me suffer, which I have mixed thoughts on that too. I don't want necessarily people, if people can subscribe for whatever reason they want, but it makes me feel a little bad that this channel really is really meant for me to help me rebuild my life after having had my cancer surgery, and the part of my cancer journey where I try to pick up the pieces and figure out how to live with this new body that I have after cancer. I hope that maybe you'll stick around to watch some of that content. Again, I still have 7 more years. I'm getting almost close to 6. 6 more years of active imaging and actively seeing the oncologist and dealing with all those things. But yeah, I kind of wanted to get this off my chest because I felt like people were only, and I don't want to talk for you. I don't want to talk for you if you're a subscriber or you're someone who actively watches my video, which, if you aren't subscribed and you want to subscribe, please subscribe now. I want to be very clear. I didn't have to go through chemotherapy, but that doesn't make me any less of a cancer patient, and it doesn't make it any less that I'm still on my cancer journey. I don't know how I can't speak for how other cancer survivors feel, but I feel like I will be on this journey for the rest of my life. I will have to have probably revision surgeries. I will have to be really careful to make sure my cancer does not return over the rest of my life. I will have to deal with the lifelong disability in this new body. Okay. I'm, like, shaking, not because it's chilly, but, like, I'm shaking because I'm nervous, and I'm honestly scared about how you guys are going to react. Again, it's this like intense guilt that I experience because of how people react to that news. Um, that, you know, I could really use support. I could really use some um, supportive people to understand and be a voice and an advocate for those people who are affected by cancer in a different way than what typical society expects. But I know this is kind of a sad video, but I wanted to thank you so much for watching. But I wish you the best. Until next time, take care. Bye.
Yeah, all I need are some better days. Cause all I want, and I pray, I believe in the better days.